This was the cheapest R32 Skyline in the country.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
At least it's still got the headlights.
Look inside. Look inside.
It's definitely got compression, man.
And last video, we got it started for the first time. Bro, I can't believe it, man. Now we're still waiting for a bunch of parts for the engine, which will allow us to take it for its first ever drive. And while we wait for those parts to come, I'm gonna put on all the parts we've accumulated over the past few weeks. The biggest and most expensive problem with the Skyline purchase was the complete lack of interior. No matter where I look for secondhand parts, I either can't find them or they're just absurdly expensive. Luckily, I've been bidding on the Japanese auctions and I've got a few rare parts on the way, but for now, we've got to deal with what we have. Before we start installing our parts, don't forget our new t-shirts are live at benkispec.com. Each order is going to include a piece of my Skyline, so I'm going to be chopping up the fenders and side skirts that I'm not using and signing them and including them in every single t-shirt order. The link is in the bio. These t-shirts are limited and the sizes are also limited. Anyway, let's get to installing our new parts. I'm putting the back panel on because, guys, I scored a bargain on Facebook Marketplace. I found these seats in immaculate condition and this is going to really transform the car. I installed them without bolts for now because in the future, I will need to remove them again as we're still missing the trim on the driver's side. But guys, wow, look how incredible they look, and I think my mum also found them comfy. Alright, so I just installed the interior and my mum's come along and she's in the back seat. It's nice and comfortable.
I like it.
Heaps of room?
Yes, it's heap of room.
Limousine spec, Toyota Century.
Very good, well done, Rexton. I like it. It's amazing that you can fix this old car.
With my mum's approval, I got back to work installing the mirrors we also found from Facebook. They didn't come with hardware, so I checked my very useful bolt collection and found a bolt that would fit. And guess what? The mirrors bolted up. Now, it might look like I know what I'm doing, however that is far from the case. But the more you work on cars, the more you realize they're just like adult Lego. We also installed a washer fluid bottle for the windscreen sprayers, and the car is now looking insanely different. Alright guys, here is a look at the car now. It looks so good. Rear seats in, everything's looking awesome. Look at that. What's kind of surprising too are these rear seats are very comfy and it feels like there's going to be a decent amount of room compared to many other coupes out there. Mirrors installed, washer bottle installed, and we of course have more parts that are still in the box. So in here is the key barrel set, I believe, because every single one of my key barrels has been drilled into or ruined, and I think it's because someone tried to break into the car. They've tried to get a screwdriver in here and lever off the door handle, and I guess they succeeded, and the key barrel here is also destroyed. We're also starting the car with a screwdriver because the key barrel for the ignition is also broken. And if we come back to the boot, don't mind all the parts here, we don't even have a key barrel over here too. These lock barrels, these key barrels, costed me $600. That is cheap for a set of key barrels. Crazy. Look at that. We have a key barrel set, guys. Oh wow, there's like all these little parts. Look at this. We also got a Nismo key. Look at that. Nismo, baby. Removing the door barrels was not fun. Anything usually behind the door cards requires an insane amount of patience, and if you rush anything, you will break stuff. There are two 10mm bolts holding the handle to the door, and then there's one metal retainer clip holding the lock on the handle. Alright guys, this is the moment of truth. So we're gonna open the door. Alright, sweet. It opens, good sign. Hopefully it locks. It locks, baby. Yeah, look. Yeah, that scared me for a second, but we're good. All right, so we just finished up the driver's side key barrel. It's all installed and it's looking good. I'm now trying to tackle the boot lock. As you saw in one of the other videos, we weren't able to get the boot open with the boot lever because something was wrong with the mechanism. But I think I figured out what was wrong after like, I don't know, like 30 minutes of just looking at these locks. So here's the lock mechanism. And what releases the boot lid is this lever right here. So it's hard to do with one hand. Right there, the thing that I'm moving with my thumb, essentially pushes on this golden piece and that releases the whole thing. So if I push on this lever and it touches the gold bit, it releases everything and then you can take these apart. I can't do it with one hand, but essentially this has been bent before, so we're gonna try bend it back in place and then reinstall everything, and hopefully we have a functioning boot after that. Okay, I'm super happy right now because check this out. So here is the lock mechanism. I'm gonna simulate the lock being pushed in. So that's the mechanism closed. And if I use the key right here, you can see the mechanism opens. So, okay, locked, key in. That's sick. That has got me absolutely stoked, guys. I can't believe it. We've got a functioning boot, but we're gonna take a break. We already installed key barrels in the doors and the boot, but I wanna get the car rolling before I work on the ignition barrel because it's in a very tight spot. And in order to do that, in order to get the car properly driving without risking overheating it, we need to get the alternator on, as we don't currently have one. And what's worse is that the previous owner parted it out and he chopped the wires. Went on eBay, got myself a cheap alternator, secondhand of course. Really hope this one works. We also bought a plug which will connect up into the alternator, which will tell it to go on, as you can see. But yeah, we need to do the wiring before we do any of that. And I don't even know where any of the wires go, so let's see how we go. Okay, just a little update on the wiring. We have got ourselves 4 wires in order to get this alternator working. We've got the alternator main plug, we've got the red wire that goes to the alternator output, and a ground that goes on the alternator, which doesn't seem too necessary because it's grounded on the motor, but we'll use it anyway. After a few weeks, we almost have a semi-complete engine bay. The alternator was the last item we needed, as the belt that spins the alternator also spins the water pump. Here's the alternator installed, I then connected the battery, and we were ready to see the pump spin for the very first time. You might have just seen like a whole bunch of dust go everywhere, and that's because this is the first time the car's running with the water pump working, and connected to the water pump is a clutch fan. As you can see, it's all connected up, which is pretty crazy to me. Now, do you remember this? Oh, no. Oh! We need to clean the entire engine out. So I've come up with this little jig, and we're going to be able to flush the entire cooling system without running it through the new radiator that we bought. So the coolant pipe goes into the motor, and then we need to figure out a way to get this like flowing not over the alternator, because the pipe just sort of ends at the alternator. But we're going to just like flush the entire system out like this. So I'm going to drive the car out. It's currently raining, which kind of sucks, but we'll get the car out here and make sure all the rust and stuff goes on the driveway. My parents are going to be so happy. Oh God. Looks like exhaust is coming out of the oh my God. No matter what I did, I couldn't get the car to blow hot air out of the cabin vents, which could mean one of two things. There could be a massive air trap in the engine or heater core, stopping the coolant from bleeding. Or worst case, the head gasket could be blown. I decided that I'd try flush the heater core out, but after removing the bottom line, no water came out. This meant that the blockage was in the cooling system, which was funnily enough a relief. So I used the spare coolant line to flush out the heater core, but the heater core was not blocked as fluid came out immediately. I then connected up just the top line, which would push water through the engine, and we found the blockage. The battle, however, was not over. There was still heaps of gunk left in the engine, and it was stopping the cooling system from bleeding. I decided to use this product called Radiator Flush, and you can buy this at your local Autobahn. It's essentially an acidic liquid that breaks down rust, and you put it in your radiator and let the car run for 20 minutes. For the first time, we had hot air coming through the heater core, which meant that the Radiator Flush was working. Bro, this is crazy. Oh my God. For the first time we have a warm heater core. It's actually coming out really warm. Wow.
The heater core hoses are like real hot now, but that bottom radiator hose is still stone cold.
That's very odd. That is very odd. I don't know what's going on, but Yeah, it's the best it's ever ran before now. Hey, that's enough. Yeah, I don't know why it's got like a fuel cut at 3.5, but it sounds good.
Bro, it sounds tough, man. I rate it. Sounds a bit like a rotary.
Yeah, dude. Before we take the Skyline on its first drive, we need to address the brakes. The previous owner removed the brake pads on all 4 corners because apparently the calipers are seized, and this has led me to use the handbrake to stop the car. Luckily, the previous owner kept them in the car, unlike everything else, which he parted out. But first, let's check if the calipers are seized. I'm gonna take the wheels off and inspect what the hell is going on. Okay, here we go. If this moves, then I think we're good and they're not seized. Oh man, they're not even seized, bro. Look at that. Oh, we got heaps of movement. Bro, that's so good. We made quick work of putting the new brake pads in, both in the front and the rear. Unfortunately, we were missing some parts, but we managed to get everything in and it should work. All right, guys, we're now bleeding the brake system after replacing all the pads because it didn't have any pads. Got Lachlan here, pumping the brakes. I got Imran, filling it up. Alright guys, so it's the next day, and unfortunately, I'm feeling a little bit defeated because it turns out that the master cylinder, is bad. I've actually taken the line off. This line goes to one of the front calipers, and as I push the master, nothing comes out. There's no fluid coming out at all, which is telling me that there's a bad master cylinder. There should be fluid coming through right at the port at the master cylinder, and nothing's coming out, which means that we can't actually bleed these brakes. So, we're gonna probably just take this thing for its first drive without brakes and just use the handbrake. I don't know, but I want to get this thing driving. I just want to feel this thing. It is what it is. Cars, man. After working on this car for a few weeks now, I was desperate to feel this thing properly move for the very first time. I also wanted to make sure that the gearbox was all good because they are not cheap to replace, so I took it down the street, which was a surreal experience. Alright, we're about to take the Skyline for its first ever drive. I don't know why it's idling so high, but we've also got some passengers.
Oh, this is sketch.
Second gear.
Oh, good. This is actually
oh my god.
Back here.
Second.
Yeah.
Third. Oh no, brakes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, buddy. From picking the car up in the condition that it was in, to now it driving for the very first time on the road, this car has come a very long way. Now we still have a lot of engine work to do. We found out that the turbo doesn't even spin with the car idling, so we're gonna have to replace it. We also have hundreds of dollars worth of parts for the interior coming from Japan, which won't be here for a few weeks, but in the meantime, we're gonna do what we can to get the interior looking okay. Progress is progress, and if we chip away at this thing every single week, we should get it looking like this. I may be overly optimistic, but I do reckon we can get the car looking somewhat semi-decent for the street. In the next video, we're going to start doing the body work. I've decided I'm going to attempt this myself for the first time, and we're also going to replace the turbo, which I've already received. Stay tuned, guys, and thank you for your support. See you in the next one.